Ni hao. Welcome to lesson 2. And this topic we will be talking about tones, which are the most important components while learning Mandarin. Mandarin is not difficult as a language, but tones are the things that make it really difficult to understand and um, learn. Okay, so but don't worry, in today's lesson, I'm going to break down about tones and in a manner wherein you will find understanding them, you will find learning them and implementing them for the very easy. So let's get started. Okay, so I'll be covering a few questions in this lesson. If possible, if there are things that don't get covered, we'll make another lesson for this as well. We'll be talking about tones in another lesson as well. Okay, so the first question that I have over here is what are tones? So you might be asking me, is it everybody is just talking about tones this, tones that? What exactly are tones anyway? So that is not a very difficult question. Just like we have different pitches while we sing, while we speak. When I'm saying, really? No. So you can understand it. My pitch is different, right? The same thing is used in Mandarin as well, but it's not exactly comparable. So the thing is, Mandarin is a tonal language, right? That means we have pitch, but it's a part of the word. So what happens is, let me give you a very simple example. So all I've written over here is that tones are lexical tones. Now, what does lexical mean? Lexical means that you can use the tones to differentiate between different word meanings. For example, you might I'll explain this in detail, but let's just say we have this example: ma, 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 ma. Can you differentiate between this four ma's? The first one I'm saying is ma, 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 ma. You get the point, right? So that is exactly what the word lexical means. That is, the meaning of the word changes with different tones. So I have, when I say ma, it is a different, if it is a different ma, it has a different meaning than when I say ma. So what I'm trying to say over here is that, just a second, this ma and this ma have different meanings because we have different tones. The main thing the tone does is change the meaning of the word, right? When I use a tone, the meaning of the word changes. When I say ma, this ma is different. When I say ma, this ma is different. And they all, as you can see, they have different characters as well, right? This is a different character, this is a different character, this is a different character, this is a different character. These different characters are they're telling you that the tones, so I'm using different tones over in this four cases, right? When I'm using different tones, the meaning of the word changes, and that is why we have different characters for all these four ma's. Ma, 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 ma. You get my point? I hope you're getting my point. I hope you're understanding what I'm trying to say, right? Okay. So I think it's a bit clear as to what tones are, right? And the second thing is, like I said, so the first ma and the last ma, or the first, second, third, fourth, all ma's are different because their tones are different. And now the question that comes obviously to everybody's mind is, why does Mandarin have tones? So it's very simple. See, uh, when you learn English or when you learn any other language, we have syllables, right? We have syllables, and these syllables are basically different sound combinations. When I say a, e, o, these are different syllables and they have different sounds, right? But in case of Mandarin, we don't have a lot of syllables, right? English has a lot of syllables, right? But in case of Mandarin, we don't have a lot of syllables. We have very few. That is, we only have 400 basic syllables. English is like thousands of syllables that you might already know. So this is an important point that you need to learn. That is, Mandarin has roughly 400 syllables, right? Now, just like I said that compared to English, these are very few. These are very few, right? So how do we understand it? Now what next? But now you'll ask me that yes, you just told us that we have so many different tones, and Mandarin roughly has more than 90,000 characters. So if we just have 400 syllables, how are we making so many words? The thing is, it's very interesting that to avoid confusion, we multiply them with the tones. So, like I said, we have four tones, right? And we have 400 syllables, which equals to about 16,000 distinct syllables. So, it's very simple 400 into four tones, which gives us approx 1600 syllables. Now we have 1600 different sounds, right? Now we have 1600 different sounds. Getting my point? So this is pretty small compared to English, but it is very it's still a lot of there's still a lot of syllables. When I'm talking about 1600 syllables, that's still a lot. So you need to understand that Mandarin is a tonal language. The phonetics, the sound of the word means a lot. You might have learned phonetics in English as well, right? So the sound of the word changes the meaning. That is all Mandarin is all about. If you might have seen some Chinese dramas, you must have seen that people get confused when the other person does not pronounce the word correctly, because the if I say ma, the meaning changes. If I have to say ma and I've said ma, the meaning changes, right? That is why tones are very important, because when you change a tone, the meaning of the word changes, right? I hope you have understood these 2 points. Now let's come to the third question, that is the historical development of tones. Now you will be asking, like, how did people back then just have four tones, and we're just using we have the same word but we pronounce it through different tones, and that gives us a lot of vocabularies, that gives us a lot of syllables. So what happens is, uh, the old Chinese language, which was the ancestor language of Mandarin, it it is said that it did not have tones the way Mandarin does now, right? So um, the thing is that the old Chinese language was very, very difficult, okay, and it did not have the tones that we have. And of course, the another thing is that when I'm talking about old Chinese, the old Chinese is basically a very big group of language, just how we can consider Sanskrit or the Indo-European group of languages. But the thing is, when we take one language, over the time, a lot of different branches, um, you know, arise from that language. So, in one of my shorts, I have covered that Mandarin is not the only Chinese language. When we're talking about Chinese languages, the Chinese language is a whole family of languages, and it has various languages like Hakka, Wu. You might have heard about Cantonese and Mandarin, Wu, and there are like Hokkien. There are a lot of different languages, right? So the old Chinese do not have tones, but over the time, a lot of consonant endings were lost, because see, this Chinese language, it's very old. The Chinese civilization started like 5,000 years ago, so it's a pretty old civilization, right? Uh, and this process, so what happens is when the endings disappear. So suppose there was a word called man, now the end went by, so now it's like ma, right? So now the endings have disappeared. The tone, the pitches, the pitch that we use to say the word, it also differs, right? This process is known as tonogenesis. I'll write this word. Now you all know that the word genesis means to start something or to give birth to the origin of something, right? So this is known as the origin of tones, the process wherein if the last syllable is missed, what people do is they just gave it different sounds. For example, some syllables ended with P, some ended with T, some ended with K. But over the time, the sound of P, the sound of T, the sound of K disappeared, and only the pitch patterns survived, right? So that is why we have tones, because they are the different pitches of how we pronounce a word. It may be possible that once upon a time, the word that I have written over here, this ma, must have been like this or like this. But over the time, these syllables got lost, and we just have. So suppose I say map, ma, and now it's just like ma, mat, mat. So just like when the T one, ma. right? So that is what I'm saying, is that over the time these last consonants were lost and only the tones remain. But because these were different words, they had different tones, they had different pitches, and that is why right now we have different tones. This lesson is a bit difficult, but the part that I'm covering right now, it's mostly theory part. It's not really very important for you to learn it, but because we are studying Mandarin from the start, we need to know everything, right? That is a very good practice. Now the next question is, why do we have four tones? Like why do we have four tones? So the thing is, the traditional classification, the classical Chinese had more tone categories, but over the time, uh, the thing is that Mandarin as a language, the modern Mandarin, this language evolved differently from other family of languages, right? Like I just said before, that Chinese is not a single language. Chinese is basically a family of languages. Now, this family had various languages, and over the time, they developed independently. So, for example, when Mandarin was developed, evolved differently compared to its southern Chinese variants, right? That is why the entering tone disappeared in Mandarin, because the final stop disappeared. Just like I told you that the consonants disappeared, and that is why Mandarin had a different tone system compared to Cantonese. Now let's take example of Cantonese. The thing is, people usually say that when we talk about the old Chinese, or the Chinese that was used like hundreds and thousands of years ago, people say that Cantonese is more relatively closer than Mandarin. And why do I say that? Is because Cantonese has 6 to 9 tones depending on the analysis. Now we won't be learning Cantonese. Neither do I know Cantonese. But the basic thing is that Cantonese has 6 to 9 tones. And like I said, the traditional Chinese had many tones, but only when I'm talking about Mandarin evolved very differently. It got 4 tones, and the other languages, for example, Cantonese, evolved a bit differently, but they had similarities with the old language they descended from. That is why Mandarin has less tones, and the other languages have more tones. Right? That is it. There's nothing important. So, of course, and the second thing is that now we're talking about the Mandarin that we're using is basically simplified. I've told you why it became simplified. So, it is not that Chinese has 4 tones. Standard Mandarin, the modern Mandarin that we use today, the one that is used very, the most common one that is used in China, the mainland China, it is the modern standard Mandarin, and that has only 4 tones. Right? I hope this is clear. And now there is another very interesting topic that I actually won't be covering in detail over here, because this is a bit of an advanced topic. It's called tone sandhi. Tone sandhi is a very interesting topic. It talks about when I'm using two different syllables. So when I'm using two words, first word is ni, the second one is how. So ni and how have two different tones. What happens is that when we merge them into a single word, it's called tone sandhi. This process is called tone sandhi. And what we do is we change the tone of the whole word. For example, let's understand this with a simple example. So, when I'm talking about ni hao, right? So, ni hao has a different set of tones when we use it separately, right? The tones are like this. So, this is ni and this is hao. Okay. If you ask me what these two words mean, ni means you and how means good or okay. So when we say ni hao, we say you good. That is the exact translation. So like I was saying that ni is a whole different word. How is a different word. You can say ni hao ma, are you okay? Ni, you, how? 我很好, I am very good. So the examples that I was telling, what I was telling about the ni and how are two different words. But now when I'm saying ni hao, which means hello, which is the most common greeting in China. When I say ni hao, so both of these words combine. And when I combine them, the tone changes. It's as simple as that. The tone changes, right? And how does the different the tone looks like? It's going to be like this. So when I'm gonna say this is going to be ni, the fourth tone, and this is going to be how. Ni hao, ni hao. So this was pronounced ni hao, and this pronounced ni hao. I think if you listen more carefully, you will be able to understand the sound difference. Okay, so when I'm saying ni hao, now we're saying ni hao, ni hao, ni hao. Right? Let's compare. Okay, this is so much fun, right? It's so easy to understand this thing. Okay, let's take it over here. Okay, when I use the first ni, right? It was like this. That was the third tone, right? What? Ni. And when I used how, it was also the third tone. How? First you go down, then you go down, then you go up like this. Okay, you can understand this one. First you just start like this, and then you go up. Ni, ni, how, right? Ni, how, ni. You go down and then you go up. It's like a valley. You go down, you go up. Ni, how, right? Yeah, I hope you're getting the point. But when I do tones sandhi, what do I do? I just write it like this and like this. So what does this sound like? Ni, ni, how, ni, how. When let's practice this once again. So when I use the first one, I said ni, how. Second case, what did I do? Ni, how, ni, how, ni, how. I hope you're getting the point, right? It's very fun and easy to understand, right? Okay. So this is stone sandhi. It's a bit of a difficult, it's a bit of an advanced topic. So we'll cover it later when we are actually dealing with words. For now, I just gave you a basic introduction to what tone sandhi is. Now, the next question that we have over here is that you might be wondering when I'm gonna cover this tone charts. I'll do that very soon. Let's just cover the last topic of our list, that is neutral tone. Now, what does neutral tone mean like? The thing is, uh, like I said, that Mandarin has rhythm, Mandarin has tones, but there are a lot of you know syllables who lose their tonal strength when they are attached to other, right? So that is why we don't keep on saying ma. Like, okay, for example, there is this word called mama, which means mother. Okay, so we have this word called ma. No, we have the first tone. This is pronounced as ma. Now, if I'm going to use a tone again, ma. So you see that this is not a very efficient way of speaking, and plus that is not how it works. What neutral tone means is that when we are combining two tones, when we're combining two different syllables, two tones, what happens is that one of the word retains its tone and the other one loses it because it's not that necessary. This helps to make Mandarin a more fluid and a more efficient language. You say mama, mama, mama. I don't say mama. I don't say that, right? So that is what neutral tone is. So this is a neutral tone. We are not using any tone over here. We just say ma, ma, ma. Simple ma, nothing else. Okay. We don't have to put a pressure over here. We don't have to, you know, stress on it. It's a neutral ma, and it helps to make the language more fluid and natural. The speech, right? Okay. So now you will be asking me, why is this whole tone thing a bit difficult for English speakers? The thing is that when we talk about English, so English uses the pitch for emphasis, emotion. Do this, do that. I'm putting an emphasis on. Really? Question mark. Oh no, that's an emotion, right? But in case of Mandarin, we use lexical identity. So I might say how. I say how the, how. So that's what I'm talking about, right? We change the tone because we don't have lots of syllables in Mandarin. And another question is that that might come into your mind is that, do native speakers also hear tones separately? Just like now you will ask me like, yes, you're teaching us different tones. You are saying us that it's called ni how, it's called ni how. So do the native speakers also use different tones all the time? The answer is a bit complex. The thing is, they understand when I'm using the word ni hao or when I'm saying ni hao. We emphasize a lot on the different tones when we are learning Mandarin in the start. But when people who have been who are the native speakers who have been speaking this language for years, they don't consciously give the tones. But the thing is that when you speak a sentence, it already makes sense. So, for example, I'll give you a very interesting example in this case. You might be looking at the mass, right? Can you look at the mass over here? These four mass, right? Let me just erase this extra part. Okay. So now that you are looking over these four mass, all four of them have a different meaning, right? All four of them have different meanings that we understood, right? Because they have different tones. Now the thing is, what are these tones? The first ma, it's really. The second ma is more of a okay. So uh, this ma, this one, it means mother. Ma, ma. You must have heard people saying ma, Ichinara, ma. This is the mother ma. The second one is ma, that is hemp, right? The third ma that we have over with us is horse. Ma, this ma means horse. And the fourth one that we have with us is ma, which means to scold. So now you understand that we have these four different mas. When I say 我的妈妈很漂亮，我的妈妈. So when I say 我的妈, my mom, I won't say 我的妈, I won't say my hemp or my horse or my scold. So when you're speaking a sentence, it's pretty easy to understand the meaning of the ma or any other syllable because of the context in which we are speaking, right? So that is what native speakers do when they're talking. They have different contexts. If I'm saying I want to go out with I'm going out with my mother, so I'll use this ma, not this ma. And obviously, that would be understood that okay, she's talking about mother, not the hemp or horse or to scold, right? Okay, so this was a lot of boring part, which might not be of much interest to you. But now we will be covering very interesting things, and that is the tones chart. Okay, so like I said, that Mandarin has four tones, and we are going to practice them one by one. The first is this. So you have to repeat after me so that you can learn the tones as well. Okay, the first one is the straight tone, right? You can also see the chart over here. The first one is on it's pretty straight. So if I say so I just have to say simple ma pa, or for example fa do da la pa ga, right? That is the first tone. And the first tone is always represented in this word well. The sign like this tone. The second tone is the rising one. You might see the second tone starts from the middle one and goes high. Ah, ah, really? In surprise, like ah, really? You go from down to up. Ah, really? Right? The third tone is this one. It's called no pronounce like this with me. What? What? You go down and then you go up again like a belly. What? What? Got my point? The fourth is no. Like a stern no. No. From up, you're going down. No. Boo. Ma. Right? No. These are the four tones. Now, what I'm trying to say over here is that when you will be writing in Mandarin, you won't see these four tones present. You will see them when we are reading the pinyin. Now, what is pinyin? Pinyin is a writing system wherein we represent the Chinese characters in a Latinized, Romanized, Latinized format, whatever it is. Um, you know, making it easier for the people who don't have Chinese as a native language to understand. And also, Pinyin was created because when you are typing on keyboard, you cannot type a lot of characters. So you use these pinyin, you write ma, and then you get all the different sort of mas. They're like if there are 15 mas, if there are 30 mas, if there are like 1,000 mas, so you'll get different mas, right? Now, so these tones you will find on the pinyin characters. For example, ni hao. So ni hao is the pinyin of a character which looks like this. So this is ni hao, and this is ni. This is how. And what I'm saying is that when I'm writing it in the pinyin form, in this pinyin, I'm using these tones, so you know how to pronounce it. But the reason why we're using tones in the pinyin is to understand how to pronounce a word. When I say ni, how, how, ni, how. So you get you're understanding the different what do you call it, the tones, how to pronounce them because of the tone charts that we have in Pinyin. So that is what it helps. Uh, okay. So I think I covered a lot, and maybe a lot of you might be feeling a bit flustered. This was a lot, and you might have also had a bit of difficulty understanding. That is not a problem. Tones are really simple. We'll just be discussing these four tones again. Let's practice once again. The first one is repeat after me, okay? Ah, really? What? Really? What? No. Okay, let's do once again. Ah, really? What? No. In case of no, I'm starting with a higher pitch and then I go down. No. In case of really, I'm starting with a lower pitch and then go up. Really? Really? Ah, really? What? No. Okay, so these are the four tones that we use in Mandarin. I feel that this might be a bit of a boring lecture. Don't worry. The starting lectures can be a bit boring, but once we understand the basics, we have to build a very good foundation for learning Mandarin. And these tones will help you, they will help you understand how to speak. And I'll be posting this picture of the tone chart on my community as well. So you can definitely read it and learn it and speak it very well. I'm also thinking of making a short video or a short just to practice these four tones. So you don't have to watch this whole video because this was more of a theoretical stuff and we only covered the tones in the last part of the lecture. So yes, that is it. I hope you enjoyed it, and let me know in the comments what are your questions, and do you understand these tones, or if you want me to make another video to properly explain what tones are. The thing is, I have actually covered the whole tones topic in this lecture, but if you have any doubts, we can definitely cover them in upcoming lectures. I'm actually thinking of making a whole doubt session lecture wherein I'll just be talking about all the doubts that you people have. Now, please do practice these four tones, and hopefully you understood this whole lesson. What are tones? Why does Mandarin have four tones? Historical development of tones. Why do we have four tones? Tone sandhi and the neutral tones. Tone sandhi will be covered later as well because it's a bit of a heavy and advanced topic. Once you understand Mandarin a bit better, you get used to the sentence structure and other things. We'll go back to Sandhi. Okay, so I hope it's clear. Thank you so much for watching. And if there are any questions, you can simply ask in the comments. You can ask on the community. You can, and please do follow me on Instagram. We post a lot of nice things over there as well. Fun Chinese things, fun Chinese facts as well. Okay, so see you in the next video, and bye bye. Keep learning.